Okay, I'm about to hit my dad, go ahead and hit the block. Okay, now move it, while me do it, want me on the spot. Throw that money in it.
Yo, you already know who it is. It's your boy Action in the building, baby. And today, man, look, today I got a special one. You already know what we doing. Storytime Animated is back at it again with another banger story. This time we're looking at the story called My Mom Visited Me After Being Dead for Years.
What?
But I'm not gonna hold y'all for too long. All I gotta say is follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and also check out that intro song. Links in the description below. With y'all doing those three things, let's hop straight into this bad boy. Let's get it.
I grew up in a small town in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
There wasn't so much as a Target, let alone anything interesting for a teenager like myself to spend their days.
Where was you growing
So
up at,
when
bro?
my dad told me we would be going on a trip to a campsite, I jumped on board immediately.
Okay.
It would only be myself and my dad. My mom had passed
Camping.
away 5 years ago.
Oh, that's
You see,
sad.
my mom had died whilst hiking in the woods. We
Uh-huh.
never found her body, but a knife had been found at the scene with her blood on it. The police confirmed she had been murdered.
What?
They managed to catch the criminal who killed her. I didn't know
Okay.
who the murderer was, nor why they did it. I was still traumatized from
Bro, I'd be big traumatized. What you talking about? We going hiking. How did she die? How did you get that far away from your mom when y'all was hiking together?
Stupid.
But they caught the man, so it couldn't have been the father. Like,
missed her every day.
I would too.
But I was still beyond excited. I loved my
That
dad
boy said,
and I
"Yo!"
had a weekend away with him.
Yes, sir.
But before I dive into this creepy story, make sure you like and subscribe. And
Oh, yeah.
hit that notification bell
definitely.
so
Y'all
you
better
don't
subscribe
miss
to
out
them.
on any more creepy content.
Oh, yeah. I love
We packed our bags, hopped in the car, and
You know we
started
love
driving.
that.
My dad never told me where we were going.
Yeah.
He said it would be a surprise.
A camping.
I was just happy to get out of the house.
Camping
We
trip.
drove and drove for what seemed like days, but was probably
Is he
only
still
a few
crying?
hours. Eventually, we reached the campsite.
Is that tear?
I wrinkled my nose as
Hey,
we
bro,
stepped
that boy looked like he done caught some bodies, bro. He done ingraded tears into his eyes, bro. He said, yeah, I caught that murderer slipping.
The cabin where we were going to be staying at was all run down and derelict.
Ew.
I was surprised it was still standing.
I'm not
Its
gonna
wood
pause no
seemed
more, y'all.
infested with termites.
Unless I have to.
What?
Do we really
It's a
have to
long
stay
one.
here? I asked my dad. He ruffled my hair. Come on,
Man, get
sport.
your hands out my
It isn't
hair.
that bad, he chuckled. It looked pretty bad to me, but I kept my mouth shut,
I
and
hate
we brought our
camping
things into the
sometimes,
cabin.
bro. I camped like a few
Then
times.
something strange happened.
I hate
My
sleeping in
dad
the
was back in the
wilderness
cabin,
or anything
unpacking
like
our
that.
bags, and he asked me to grab a blanket from the trunk. As I made
Bro,
my
I
way
hate
back
that.
to the car, I
Bugs and
felt
stuff.
someone move behind me.
Uh-oh.
I turned
Missed
around
out.
to find this woman standing in front of me,
Why, she
eyes
got ghost
bulging in her
eyes?
sockets, staring me dead in the face.
Uh-uh.
She was wearing what seemed to be an old jumpsuit.
Oh, bro,
orange
she
in
just
color.
escaped prison.
Was
Run.
she a prisoner?
Oh, you better
Can
run.
I help you?
Nah, can I
asked
run?
nervously.
Quick.
She just kept staring at me. Then
Dang, why
she
she got
opened her
8
mouth.
chins?
Is he here?
He?
She asked in a shaky voice. I didn't understand her question, so I didn't reply.
I wouldn't either.
She took a step forward and I freaked out. I sprinted into the cabin,
you shoulda
shutting
did
the
that
door with
first.
a bang.
You should have did that
I
first.
peeked out through the curtains, watching her cautiously. She hadn't moved from the spot.
Oh my-
she was
but she's
just
moving right there.
standing there.
But, huh?
A wooden board creaked behind me.
These details messing me up. Talk about she ain't moved at all. Animation talk about, bro, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but y'all gotta pick one.
And I jumped. I whirled around only to find it was just my dad. What is it? He asked, worried. I
Man,
explained to
Dad,
him
you
about
don't
the young
understand.
woman and how she was wearing the
Young.
clothes of a prisoner. After my panicked story, my dad just blinked at me. He didn't seem fazed at
Come
all.
on.
Then he asked me where she was. I was confused,
Outside?
but I pointed out the window to where the woman was still standing. As he peeked through the curtains, I thought I saw something change in his gaze. He looked different to the man who had raised me. His cheery expression seemed to melt away into
Whoa.
something unrecognizable.
Don't tell me he saw it too.
But then the expression disappeared and he turned back to me, calmly. Oh, don't worry about her, he said.
What do you
My
mean?
dad moved from the window, humming as he stepped into the kitchen.
What you mean?
Do you want something to eat? He asked me as if nothing had happened.
Yeah.
I was still so
What's outside that window?
confused. Why had my dad not reacted the same way?
Right?
There was a prisoner outside our cabin, possibly an escapee.
Right?
She could be dangerous. We
On
really should call
everything,
the
boy.
police. But so far as my dad was concerned, we were fine.
Okay.
I didn't
don't
understand
trust that.
any of it.
Not
This
at
was
all.
supposed to be a nice holiday with my dad, but it had turned into something way scarier. And
'cause
my
you see
dad
one
was
girl
acting
don't
so
mean it's
strange.
scary.
I didn't want to be a crybaby, but I wanted to go home. Dad was acting so strange. I didn't want to be a crybaby, but I wanted to go home.
Nah, you was a
It wasn't
crybaby,
until the
bro.
next morning that things got really
Hey, Dad, why you sleeping in the
strange.
same bed? I'm just kidding.
I'm usually a late sleeper, so when I heard my dad get up that morning, I didn't think much of it. That is, when I looked at the clock and realized it was 6 a.m.
Oh,
That
AM
was
early.
really early for my dad. Curious, I followed him downstairs and glanced out the window.
Okay.
There was the crazy woman again,
Why
the
is he
prisoner.
staring at
And I
her?
felt my jaw drop as I realized she was speaking to my dad.
What?
They chatted like they'd known each other for years.
Hey, what's up, Cheryl?
My dad had some food
nothing
with
much.
it,
I
and
got
he
that
gave it to the
food with
woman.
her.
I couldn't
No, I got that
believe
food
my
on me.
eyes. She was a prisoner. What was my dad doing? When my dad returned, I decided to confront him about it.
Hey, Dad, I saw you talking to that prisoner,
Can't you see she's a criminal?
right?
My dad was shocked to find out I had seen everything. But he calmed down.
Ah!
Josh, there's something I need to tell you.
What, bro?
What is it? My dad took a deep breath. I'm in love with her. I took a step back. What?
Huh?
I'm in love with that woman, he repeated.
But that woman?
Look, after
Bet.
your mother died, I've
Bing.
been lonely.
I'm just
I
kidding.
met Sharon and I fell in love.
Sharon.
But she got mixed up in some bad business and now she's on the run and I have to help her. I have to.
Oh, no,
I couldn't
why?
believe what my ears were telling me.
So,
Was my dad losing it?
so we went out
But
here
Dad,
just to help
why
your
didn't
case.
you ever tell me about her? I asked.
Why would you bring
Because I thought you would get mad. I didn't want you to think Sharon was replacing your mom.
I mean, she's...
But Dad, she's
gone.
a criminal. We can't help her. Please, Josh, I'm in love with her. Just do this for me, please.
For you, I got you.
I
911,
hesitated.
now you're locked
Logic
up with her.
told me this was a bad idea. She was a criminal for God's sake. But the look on my dad's face made me think again. Fine, I said.
Not worth
My
it.
dad breathed a sigh of relief. I glanced
You
at him.
still on it.
Is this the reason why we went camping?
Yup.
My dad looked apologetic. Yes, sorry about that, son, but
Sorry.
Sharon needs me.
You didn't
I
need to
sighed.
bring me out
Fine,
here.
fine. Let's just get through this. Dad went
Aw,
outside
I
and
feel
called the
bad,
prisoner,
bro.
Sharon, in. She appeared at the door and she glanced at me awkwardly.
Don't
Then, to
look
my
at me too
surprise,
long.
she rushed in and hugged me. I've
don't
heard
hug
so
me. It's
much
gross.
about you, Josh,
Don't do
she
that.
said. I patted her back awkwardly. Hello, Sharon. For the next
So
few
weird.
days, she stayed hiding in our cabin. Dad said we just
with a
needed to
mask
lie
on?
low for a few days, but then we could return back home and Sharon could come with us. I
Nah.
wasn't so keen on the idea, but I could tell
like
it made Dad happy, so I went along with it.
Why?
Before long, the weekend was over, and we were driving back home, but this time with Sharon.
That's
I was
so
unsure
weird.
what Dad planned on doing when we got back to cover up Sharon's strange appearance, but
Right?
I was sure
Maybe
he'd
change
figure
her
it
out
out.
of a jumpsuit.
For many weeks,
Ha.
we lived together pretty fine.
Cut her
If I was
hair,
completely
change out
honest,
the
I didn't
jumpsuit.
like Sharon. She was way too loud and always made comments about how messy my room was.
Okay, Sharon, look, you ain't gonna come in my house disrespecting the alpha. Now, you might think the dad is, now that's me, okay? First thing, we gonna get that straight.
As Dad was happy, I could put up with her.
Nah,
I started to get curious about
being
what
loud.
Sharon had done to get her arrested. One day, I asked her. Dad was out in the garden tending to his plants, and Sharon and I were in the kitchen.
Mad.
Sharon, I said, can I ask, why were you arrested?
Oh,
Sharon smiled, but she looked so creepy to me. Murder. I felt my heart.
oh, whoa!
What? Yeah, said Sharon casually, but don't worry, she deserved it.
She? Oh no, the title is Mom Visited Me After Being Dead for Years. What if that's his actual mom? And then the other girl, and then she killed him to get back with the...
Who did you murder?
Right?
Sharon looked at me, and her eyes glinted dangerously.
Yo, chill.
Don't you worry about that.
Huh?
She left the kitchen and sat
I'm
down
worried
next
about
to my
that.
dad
Who did
outside.
You murder?
They looked so happy together.
Murder, bro.
I was terrified. I was living with a murderer.
Right?
I was on edge for the next couple of weeks.
Don't talk
I
about
had trouble
my room.
sleeping,
I'ma
and
talk
I
about
always
your
left the
actions.
room if Sharon was there. But Dad didn't seem to notice. Sharon noticed, and she seemed to find it funny by how scared I was. One night, I was sleeping in my room when I heard a noise. I opened my
heck
eyes, and
no.
there was Sharon, standing at my bed.
Nope. Where the strap? Where the strap? Where the strap? All right, now put your hands up. Coming in my room crazy. Yeah, I got this comb and I ain't afraid to use it.
I screamed and I turned the light on, but then she was gone.
How do you think
I
you
couldn't
screamed?
tell whether I had dreamt it or whether it
How
had
you
actually
scream, bro.
happened. Then another
she
time,
having
I was having
nightmares?
breakfast when Sharon appeared beside me carrying a knife. For some reason,
Stop.
maybe it was the sunlight shining through, but I thought I spotted blood on the knife.
Dude,
Turns out it was just butter.
You're
I was starting to lose my
paranoid, bro.
mind. I didn't
You're
want to tell
geeky.
my dad, though. He was so happy,
Hey, Dad, I'm
and I was
geeky.
willing to suffer if
Shit,
it
shit, we
meant
gotta
he
go.
would stay happy. Ever since my mom died, he had been so lonely. It was true. At least Sharon made him happy.
Sharon, my bad.
For some reason, I started to dream about Mom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I always dreamed about what it would have been like if she hadn't been murdered. I remembered she was so beautiful, with her lovely brown
Wait,
locks of
hold up.
hair and her
She got
hazel
that
eyes.
same
She also gave the best
chin
hugs. I missed her so much.
Aw,
Sometimes
so
I would
sad.
cry on my own in my room just thinking of her.
That's so sad.
For some time,
man.
living with Sharon became the norm. I kept to myself
Ain't
as much
nothing
as
normal
possible,
about her
and
weird-looking
honestly,
self,
I
boy.
realized I was spending less and less time with Dad.
Why?
Sharon always seemed to be
Oh,
with him,
'cause she's
and I never
always
got
there.
any alone time with my dad.
That sucks.
Things were getting so miserable. I was actually half hoping the police would turn up one day and arrest her.
Hey, just call
I
it.
would never
be a
snitch on her,
snitch.
of course,
Oh,
for my
dang.
dad's sake, but still, I wished
They
for
would
it
know.
more than once. I
Hold up.
always imagined my relief at opening the door and
And
seeing the
behind, open up.
policeman standing there,
It's Meat Malone.
ready to take Sharon away and have everything back to normal with my dad. But then I would feel guilty for
Yeah.
thinking that way. Those were some confusing times for me.
Hard time.
One
bro.
day, Sharon and Dad went out for dinner by themselves. I was alone at home when I heard a knock at the door. For a
Oh,
fleeting moment,
nah,
I
bro.
thought it was the police, and I felt relief.
You said,
I
yes,
ran
the
over,
police.
expecting
Let's
to open
go.
to the grim face of a police officer.
Let's
but
go.
instead, what
911
I saw was someone I would never
What?
have expected to see in a million years. Standing
Yo,
there
is that
with
his
tears
mom?
running down her face was my mother.
What?
My mother. But no, that didn't make sense. She was dead. The
I'm so
police had
confused.
confirmed it, and yet there she was, standing right
Standing
in
there.
front of me. She was alive, risen from the grave.
Dude,
I was too
what?
stunned to speak. "Hi, Josh," she said. She stepped forward and crushed
the
me in her
best
hug.
hug
And I
ever.
remember she always gave the best
Best
hugs.
hugs.
So I hugged her
Yup.
back.
Yup,
I
yup,
was
yup.
crying by this point, and I was
Yeah.
mumbling incoherent words.
You
She
said-
stroked my head, and after about half an hour of tears and loving words, we finally stepped back into the house. I asked her to explain to me what had happened. Where had she been?
Oh,
Why
she's
hadn't she
gonna
come
say
back
how
sooner?
She got murdered.
She explained everything, but as she got deeper and deeper into her story, my jaw dropped lower
I
and
know.
lower.
I already know what it is.
It was true she had been attacked on her hike 5 years ago, and it was true someone had tried to murder her, but they had failed to do so.
Wait, what?
She had escaped them, but not without a bad cut on her leg.
Wait.
My mother showed me the
she's
scar,
actually
and I
alive?
realized that must have been as a result of that bloody knife the police had found at the scene.
Oh.
She said that she had tried to outrun her attacker, but they had captured her and held her captive for
What?
5 whole years. That is, until her captor had been arrested and sent to prison recently. That gave my mother the chance to escape,
mom's
and she came
alive!
straight here as soon as possible. "I've
What?
missed you so much," she cried, and we hugged again.
Aw?
"We have to tell the police. Can you describe your attacker?" I asked.
Oh no.
She nodded, but then her eyes drifted up and her face crumpled. I followed her
Oh
gaze
my
and spotted a
gosh.
picture of Dad and Sharon.
Oh no.
It was
that's
a portrait
her
of them
attacker.
smiling and hugging. "That's her," my mother said.
That's the girl that
I
attacked
couldn't
him.
believe my ears.
The dad
Sharon?
is crazy.
At that moment, the door opened again.
Oh,
and
no.
there was my dad and Sharon.
Oh,
Sharon
no.
took one look at my mother, and her face reddened with rage.
No, 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 no.
"You!" screamed Sharon.
What you mean, you?
My dad spotted my mom, and he froze. "Darling?" he whispered in shock.
What?
"Dad!" I yelled. "Sharon
he
tried
like
to
more?"
murder Mom." "What?"
Oh,
Sharon,
nah,
what is
bro,
going
stop.
on? Sharon scowled. "Fine, yes, I tried to murder her."
Big. Hey, bro. Ain't nothing. You ain't getting another word out, bro. Bro. Lay a hand on my, bro. I'm taking a life sentence for my parents, bro. I don't care, bro. You getting 40.
It was only so we could be together. She
Huh?
turned to my dad. "Your
don't-
stupid wife was in the way of us falling in love."
And of us.
I was stunned.
Huh?
"So you tried to kill my mother so you could date my dad?"
Huh?
Sharon turned on me.
What type of
Shut
evil?
up! My dad
Please
walked
shut
over to
up.
my mom. He cupped her face in his hands and she smiled.
Okay.
They hugged while Sharon
Yes,
screamed
that's
at them
what
to
it's supposed
stop.
be. That's
She
how it's
told my
supposed to
dad to help her, to get my mom out of her house.
Her
But
house?
my dad turned around
be.
slowly
Man,
and
shut your
glared
bum
at her.
self up. Go back to the streets.
You need to get out of
You
our
belong
house,
to the streets.
Dad said. He put his arm around me and my mom,
Uh-huh.
and Sharon
He said, this is my family, and you belong to the streets. Go ahead, bye. Have a good time.
screamed with rage. Without warning, she ran forward, her hands
Nah.
poised as if to strangle my mom.
Nope.
But my dad jumped forward and knocked Sharon out with one swift
He
punch.
said, bing.
We called the police, and
Let's
Sharon
go.
was immediately arrested for escaping prison and for attempted murder.
Get her
I
out of
can
here.
now say she is safely behind bars for a
Get her outta
very,
here.
very long time.
Bye.
My dad and mom got back together immediately.
Yes.
My dad was so sorry, and he felt as if it was his fault my mom had been attacked.
Bruh.
But we
It
all
low-key
knew this was
was.
just a terrible thing,
Oh
and
my gosh, bruh. This is crazy.
none of us were to blame. I'm so glad my family is back together, and my
Let's
mom
go.
and I are now catching up on all the years we missed together. Life is good.
By catching up, what he means is his mom's catching up to everything that he's done because his mom was trapped for years on years. I'm pretty sure that's not an interesting story. But nah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this story. That one was actually crazy to me, bro. That one got me hyped up. I'm amped. I'm out here yelling and all that, bro. Oh my gosh, man. If you guys enjoy videos like this, let me know. I'll bring you guys some more like this. And hey, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Links in the description below. Also check out my new song that just dropped last Friday. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, bye-bye, and subscribe. Your boy out.
I don't play by the rules, I make them. Every single day I'm causing mayhem. Set the laws, I'ma disobey them. Photo next, then they necklace take 'em. You a little boy to me, go tame 'em. I ain't got the time to entertain 'em. Try to run up on me, know you're gainer. This ain't route that you want to